Hey guys, we're going to start covering chapter 21, which is hair coloring. We have talked very little about hair coloring this semester with me. I know in beginners you were introduced to some color theory, the law of color, the virgin hair color application. This semester with me, you guys have done some color retouch applications, special effects with foiling, cap highlighting, balayage, multi-dimensional with a base color thus far. And so you are going to have some idea of what I'm talking about throughout chapter 21. I am going to break up the lecture to help you guys because it is so much information and this is important information. In this particular lecture, I am going to talk about texture, porosity, density, the color level system. I'm going to talk about tones, hues. I am going to talk about hair facts, the hair structure, and as well as how to identify a level, some color theory, again, the law of color. We're going to go into a little bit of the theory behind this. Although this is a lot of theory, I'm also going to introduce you guys and review some procedures with you throughout the next few weeks. So before we get started, I want to go over what exactly you are going to learn in this chapter. So what am I going to take away from it? We're going to talk about why people color their hair. We're going to talk about porosity, density. We're going to talk about texture, the hair structure. We're going to talk about melanin. You should be able to identify hair color levels and their role in formulating hair color. You should be able to identify the primary, secondary, tertiary colors. We're going to talk about complementary colors, what roles tone and intensity play with hair color. You're going to be able to list and describe the categories of hair color. In doing that, you're going to be able to tell me the differences between them. We're actually going to talk about different products that we have in our dispensary and different color lines. You're going to be able to tell me what hydrogen peroxide is, how it affects a hair color formula. We are going to go in depth with developers and talk about those as well. We're going to talk about hair lighteners, how they work, the different types, client consultations when formulating hair color, patch test and preliminary strand test. You guys are pretty well versed in the two of these. We deal a lot with this in the mock state board. We also have talked about this in some of the applications that we have covered thus far in this semester as well. You guys are going to be able to tell me about the procedures for a single process color service, what all is involved in a two-process, double process hair coloring service. You're going to be able to tell me about toners, how to choose them, what's their purpose, how to use them, the three most common methods for highlighting. And again, we have kind of went above and beyond that and introduced some new techniques that you guys don't typically get. It's not in our book, but it's definitely in our industry, such as root shadowing, baby lights, root smudges. We have already completed a lot of that information, and you will see as you progress through the program that this stuff comes very much in handy. I'm not just teaching you what is in this book. I want you guys to be ready for the marketplace. We're going to talk a lot about covering gray hair, how to formulate that, the rules of a color correction. I am going to give you some scenarios in class. I also have some diagrams in class that we're going to go over along with your book, these slides, some diagrams, and actually getting your hands into it. I think you'll better be prepared to wrap your mind around hair color. And of course, the most important part is safety and infection control throughout all of these processes and understanding why it's important. Before we begin, I want to tell you that you're not, by the end of this chapter, by the end of this semester, by the end of your time here at the college, you are not going to know everything about hair color. This is just the beginning. You are going to build on this. I'm going to set you a really good foundation. I'm going to lay the basics out for you. I'm going to teach you several different techniques, foiling patterns throughout your time here, but this is something that you're going to have to build on, and you're going to understand more and more throughout your time in the industry. Okay, so why do people even color their hair? And you'll see in a lot of our scenarios that pretty much all adults, most teens, everybody is coloring their hair in some fashion, whether it be highlights, lowlights, a base color, whether it be semi-permanent, demi-permanent, but everybody uses hair color pretty much, most people. A lot of people do this to enhance their hair color, change their hair color, cover gray. Clients who have their hair colored usually visit the salon every 3 to 12 weeks. So hair coloring is going to be a very lucrative service. For those services that you can push a little bit further, such as root shadowing, balayage, I'm going to talk to you in class about pricing and how you should price those. All of the services, but in particular those services, they're specialty services. And these are the kind of guests that you want in your client base. One, because these services, obviously, you charge more than you would for a haircut. But two, again, these are lucrative services. These are the clients that are going to rebook with you. These are the clients that are going to buy products to maintain their color from you. And they're just going to be better clients all the way around. Money-wise, also, you're going to get to know these clients because they're going to be in your chair so much. They're going to become like family to you. So another reason why we should study hair coloring, hair color services provide stylists and clients with the opportunity to express themselves. Clients always ask for, again, we're covering gray, they're enhancing their haircuts. Maybe they're even using hair color to camouflage something that they don't like about themselves, such as a pointy nose or wide set eyes. They're using hair color to camouflage those things. Hair color products have strong chemical ingredients, so being aware of those chemicals, how they work, the safety of those chemicals, this allows you to be able to provide color services to your clients. Okay, so again, more on why people color their hair. I'm going to get into that in just a second. But one of the most creative and challenging, inspiring salon services is hair color. I personally love hair color. Everybody does not, and that's okay. A lot of people come in our industry and they just want to cut hair or do men's. They may want to gear themselves more toward nails. You may just not like color in general. A lot of people are scared of color, and that's what I do not want. I want you guys to have a good foundation and a good understanding of what hair color is. Due to its popularity, it also has the potential for being, obviously, like I said before, one of the most lucrative areas in which stylists can choose to work. And again, that takes us back to pretty much everybody is doing something with hair color to their hair. Things that have blown this up are Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok. Of course, all those social media platforms has blown hair color up even more than it was beforehand. So why do people color their hair? It's important to have an understanding of this. We need to know what motivates people to color their hair. Hair color is a professional industry coined term referring to artificial hair color products and services. Now, when you see hair color in two words, and I'm going to show you this in a second, it refers to the natural color of hair. A common reason clients color their hair is to cover up or blend gray. That is a big one. You know, as we age, we tend to get gray hairs, and a lot of us do not like that. So you can cover that up completely, or you can blend it until it's time to cover it up, and you'll learn more about that later. You can enhance your existing hair color, so maybe refresh it, make it brighter, make it shinier. create a fashion statement and a statement of self-expression. You know, we have pastels, we have the vibrant bright colors, we have different techniques such as color blocking that allows us to create a fashion statement. You can correct unwanted tones. You may have a client who, when they color their hair, they pull red and they do not want to see red. Or it may be something as simple as you have a client who, in the summertime, when they go swimming, their hair turns green from the chlorine. How do you correct that? For me in particular, I have an issue with well water. So I have all of these orange brassy tones in my brunette hair. And so I correct that by toning my hair. And also maybe accentuating a particular haircut. So you're going to learn that hair color has a lot to do with, you know, or your haircut has a lot to do with how your color is placed, and your foil placement, or how you're color blocked in a haircut has a lot to do with it. Some haircuts can make and break a color, vice versa. Some colors can make or break a haircut on a person. Okay, so this is what I was talking to earlier when I said hair color as two words. This is the natural color of your hair. And when I say natural, I mean what you were born with, what you have right now. What is your natural hair color? A lot of people get that confused with, especially as they age. They'll say, well, my natural hair color, you know, when I was born was brown. It was a light brown. Your natural hair color is going to be what is your hair color at this current moment. So that new growth. Or if they have virgin hair, it would be their hair all over. The hair color as one word, this is the industry coined term that is pertaining to artificially colored hair. Okay, so let's talk about some hair facts. The structure of hair and the desired results determine which hair color to use. The hair structure affects the quality and the ultimate success of a hair color service. Some hair color products may cause a dramatic change in the structure of the hair, while others may not cause a big change at all. Okay, so let's talk about hair structure. Let's talk about the cuticle. Okay, this is the outermost layer of hair. As you've learned before in chapter 11, it protects the interior cortex and contributes to 20% of the overall strength of the hair. 20%. Okay, let's talk about the cortex. The cortex is that middle layer. Okay, majority of its strength and elasticity comes from the cortex. A healthy cortex contributes to about 80% of the strength of the hair. It contains the natural pigment, which is called melanin, that determines hair color. Melanin granules are scattered between the cortex cells. So in the cortex is where you have your strength, your elasticity is responsible. It makes up the strength of your hair, all of that together. The cortex is also where you're going to find your melanin. So this is what color is my hair and why is it that color. Okay, then you have the medulla. Okay, this is the innermost layer, and as you know, this is sometimes absent. It plays a very, very small role in hair coloring. Okay, so let's talk about texture. Texture, again, the definition, as you learned in chapter 11, is the diameter of an individual hair strand. Melanin is distributed differently according to texture. Okay, your three different textures that you have are coarse, medium, and fine. Coarse hair has a very large diameter, and you see this down here on the slide, guys. That's why my circle is bigger. It has a very large diameter. Okay, medium has a medium diameter, which is smaller than the large. And then you have fine textured hair that has a very small diameter. And these dots inside of the diameter of hair strand here that creates your texture, you'll see this. This is your pigment or your melanin. Okay, so let's talk about density. The definition of density is the number of hairs per square inch on the head. Okay, so density is how thick your hair is. So you can have thick hair, but you can have thick, fine hair, going back to your texture, or you can have thick, coarse hair. So density and texture, they are the two easiest to get mixed up, but I want you guys to understand that they are two totally different things. Density is how much hair you have, how thick your hair is, and then your texture is fine, medium, or coarse. Density affects your hair color application to make sure that you saturate and that you have full coverage. Okay, porosity. This is a big one when it comes to hair color. Porosity, the definitions is the ability to absorb moisture. Porous hair accepts hair color faster, and that's very important to know. And hair color application on porous hair can result in a color tone than less porous hair. Okay, so it can be very cool when it grabs, and we need to know that for when we formulate the hair color. So okay guys, now we're going to move on to how to identify a natural hair color and the tone. Okay, so natural hair color ranges from black to dark brown to red, from dark blonde all the way up to light blonde. Hair color is very unique to each individual. No two people have the same hair color. There are 3 types of melanin in the cortex. So that's pretty cool. You're unique. Nobody has your exact hair color. So let's talk about eumelanin, pheomelanin, mixed melanin. Okay, and I know that we have talked about these colors in regards to skin and melanin, and you guys are very familiar with this, so this part should just be a review for you. Eumelanin is melanin that gives off black and brown hair color. Pheomelanin gives off blonde and red colors. Mixed melanin. It is natural hair that contains both eumelanin and pheomelanin. And then let's talk about a contributing pigment. This is known as your undertone. So this is where things get really, really complicated. But I'm going to try to explain this to you guys very, very easy. And I'm also, like I said before, in class, I have some really good diagrams that are going to help explain this, as well as in your books and in this slide, there are some very good pictures that will help explain this as well. So contributing pigment, also known as the undertone, is the varying degrees of warmth that is exposed during a permanent color or lightening process. The foundation of hair coloring is based on modifying this pigment with hair color to create a new pigment. So underneath your natural tone, when that is stripped away by lightening, you have a contributing pigment underneath. When coloring hair, you have to take that contributing pigment into consideration during your formulation so that you can create a color that either the client wants or is going to work, whatever it may be, correcting the color service, whatever you're doing, you have to take that contributing pigment into consideration. I know we've talked a little bit about the level system in order for me to train you guys on some of the applications. I had to discuss this, but we have really not went into depth about it. So a level. The definition of a level is the unit of measurement. Okay, this is used to identify how light or dark a color is. The level system is one that colorists use to determine how dark or light. So we use this level system that you see on the right hand side of this slide. You see where 10 is the lightest, and you see where 1 is natural black. You see about halfway through 5, that is your light brown. So this again is referring to natural hair color and also your artificial. You're going to use it for both. Okay, 1 is the darkest, 10 is the lightest. Okay, so how do I identify someone's natural level? Do they just tell me, or is there a way to do this? So absolutely, there is a way to do this. The first step in performing a hair color service is obviously to identify this natural level. You're going to take a 1/2 inch square. Take the section in the crown and hold it up from the scalp. You're going to allow light to pass through this. Okay. Use the natural level finder. So the level system that we just seen on the previous slide, you're going to use this. Each color line, you typically get a color book, or you can order one with your line. Most color lines, when you buy into them, they're going to provide you a swatch book. So you can take in that swatch book, there's a level system in there. Take that level system, and you guys are going to place it against the hair or under the hair of the section that you're holding up and determine the depth or level. So you're looking at the darkness or lightness. You're not looking at the red. You're not looking at the ash in the hair. You're looking at how dark or light the hair is. Okay? You're not going to part the hair or hold it flat against the scalp. This is going to give you a very incorrect reading. Hair is going to appear darker. Move the swatch from the scalp area along the hair strand. This is going to help you determine the natural hair color level. Determining the natural light effects allows you to be more accurate in identifying the hair color level. Determine how the natural lights affects your perception of the natural hair color. Different lights, of course, fluorescent lights, this is going to distort the hair color drastically. So you want more of a natural light setting. You want a lot of light, but more of a natural light setting. Fluorescent lights are going to give you an off reading. So take that into consideration. I have had it in the past where I had to take my clients outside because I've worked in a salon that only had fluorescent lights, and it was, or the paint color on the wall did not do any justice when working with hair color. So I have had to do things like that as well. Also, in identifying a natural level, one of the biggest mistakes that I see with students is you look at someone's hair and say, oh, well, they're a level 5. But if you do not lift that hair up, you're not going to get a correct reading. As I said before, the hair is going to appear darker if you don't lift it up. Take me, for example. I have a lot of hair, so my hair looks darker. But when you hold my hair up, you'll actually see that I'm pretty high up on the level system. Whereas when it's all down, my hair looks much darker. Okay. So before we go into gray hair, I want to talk to you about identifying levels on previously colored hair. And that may be something that you have to do also. We need to know what their natural hair color is, but what if they have hair color on their hair and we're working with two different things? So you have their natural level, but then you also see on their ends that they have another color on there, possibly more than one. Okay, so what you're going to do is take the swatch book that is provided to you by your color line, and you're going to be able to use the natural level finder doing that as well. You're going to do the same steps, hold that hair up, but you'll be able to find exactly what if they want to retouch. This will help you formulate exactly what you need. You can do the same thing with hair that has been previously colored. So let's talk about gray hair. Gray hair is hair that has no pigment. Okay, this is very normal when we go through the aging process. Most retain a certain percentage of pigmented hair. So that means, like, have you seen a man with salt and pepper hair? They have a little bit of their dark hair, but they're starting to gray. Most people do retain a certain percentage. Not all of us are very lucky to go completely white or completely gray overnight. We do this in transition. Gray hair can be solid or it can be blended, as it requires special attention during hair coloring. you formulate completely different when dealing with gray hair. So the characteristics of 30% gray hair, they're going to have more pigmented hair than they have gray hair. This is very common. I would say that you're going to come in contact with tons of people. Most people that are starting to go gray, like at my age, I'm 35 years old, and I'm starting to, see gray hairs, but not enough to color my hair. Okay, so this is going to be level 5 natural hair with 30% gray. Okay, now then we're going up to 50%. So the characteristics of 50% gray hair is an even mixture of gray hair and pigmented hair. So this is what I was talking about when I said salt and pepper hair. This is a level 5 natural hair. It is 50% gray. Then you have 70 to 90%. This is more gray than it is pigmented. Most of the remaining pigment is located on the back side of the head. That is because you typically, not always, but typically most of the time, you're going to gray in the front, around the front of your hairline, your temples. You're going to gray there first. Okay. In the picture, that is a level 5 natural hair with 75% gray. See how drastic this looks? So this is the same color with 30%, 50%, 75%, and then 100% gray hair is the bottom photo. There is no pigment in this hair. It looks very, very white. Okay, so let's get into some color theory. And I know Miss Julia went over a lot of this with you guys, but I'm going to reiterate all of that because it is very important. Before you attempt to use any hair color products, it is important that you have a good general understanding of color theory. Okay, so what is a base color? The base color is going to be a predominant tone of a color. Okay, a predominant tone of a color. I want you to really stop and think about what that says. Okay, because I'm going to talk about tone in just a second. Okay, color is a property of object that depends on the light they reflect. It is perceived as red, green, blue, or other shades. Okay. So let's go into the law of color. What is the law of color? It is a system for understanding color relationships. When you combine colors, you'll always get the same result from the same combination. And you probably remember this in maybe elementary school. You guys did this with Miss Julia when you guys were working on your color wheel in her classroom. But with the law of color, what it says is every single time you combine these colors, you're going to get the same result. Okay, again, this is equal parts. Every time you mix equal parts of red and blue, that is going to create violet, always. Every time you mix equal parts of blue and yellow, that is always going to create green. Anytime you mix equal parts of red and yellow, that is always going to make orange. Okay? I know you guys probably have your color wheel still from Miss Julia's class. Feel free to use that. I always had a color wheel hanging with me, always. I know that color wheel like the back of my hand, but it always made me feel good to have one when I was formulating color. You're always going to need this, and that color wheel is never going to change. Okay, and so you have a color wheel in your book as well if you would like to refer back to that one. So let's talk about the primary colors. These are never going to change. Primary colors are pure colors. So these colors cannot be achieved from any other mixture. You have blue, you have red, and you have yellow. Okay. A predominant of blue creates cool tone colors. So if you have more blue in a color, you're going to have more of a cool tone color. Predominance of red, you're going to see more of a warm tone. Blue is the strongest primary color. It is the only cool primary color. It brings a lot of depth and darkness to colors when it's added. So think about that. Anytime you get something with a blue base, you can expect something a shade darker. You can expect more depth. You can expect more coolness. Okay. Red. This is a medium primary color. Red added to a blue base is always going to make them appear lighter. Red added to yellow is going to make them become darker. Yellow. It is the faintest of a primary color. So it is the lightest is what they're saying. When added to other color, it's going to make that other color become lighter and brighter. And I remember that because the sun is bright and the sun is yellow. Okay, so let's talk about black. We don't see a black on these primary colors, but we need to talk about black. Okay, when all three of these colors are present and all three of them are mixed in equal proportion, the resulting color is going to be a black or a dark muddy gray, depending on the saturation of the pigment. Okay, so it is helpful to think that hair color in terms of different combinations of primary colors. You have natural brown, for example. You have blue, red, yellow. White can be used to lighten a color. Black can be used to deepen a color. Let's go on to secondary colors. Secondary colors are obtained by mixing equal parts, that is the key word, of primary colors. So you have, again, we talked about these a while ago, anytime I mix blue and yellow together, I'm going to get green. Anytime I mix yellow and red together, I'm going to get orange. Anytime that I mix green and violet together, blue and red together, I'm going to get violet. Okay. Then you have tertiary colors, taking it a step further. Okay. These are intermediate colors that are achieved by mixing secondary colors with its neighboring primary color on the color wheel. Natural looking hair color is made up of a combination of primary colors, secondary colors, and tertiary colors. Okay, so again here, my yellow is here, and my green is here. That gives me yellow-green. Okay, my green is here, my blue is here. That gives me blue-green. Always your primary color comes first. I'm so sorry, guys. Then we have, you have blue and you have violet. This creates blue-violet. Then you have violet with red. This creates red-violet with the primary color coming first. You have orange and you have red. This creates red-orange. And then you have yellow and you have orange. That creates yellow-orange. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary are pure colors. Secondary colors are made by mixing those primary colors together. Tertiary colors are made by mixing the primary with a secondary. It's neighboring secondary. Okay, so let's go in about complementary colors. These are primary and secondary colors positioned opposite of each other on the color wheel. Complementary colors neutralize each other. This is very important. Understanding complementary colors helps you make a hair color decision to accomplish your goals. Okay, here's an easy reference guide. So you have blue and orange, red and green, yellow and violet on your slide. Okay, when your hair is green, you're going to use red to balance that out. Where am I getting that from? If you look in your book at your color wheel, red and green are opposite of each other on the color wheel. When the hair is red, you're going to use green to balance. When the hair is blue, orange. When the hair is orange, you're going to use blue. When the hair is yellow, you're going to use violet. When the hair is violet, you're going to use yellow. Okay? Opposite each other on the color wheel. Very important when formulating for hair color, especially when you get to toning later in the chapter. Okay, so let's talk about tone and or hue of a color. Okay, This can be very confusing too. A lot of students get tone and intensity mixed up, so I want to clarify that for you guys. The tone is the balance of color, okay? The tone answers the question of which color is used based on the client's desired results. The tones can be described as warm, cool, or neutral. And the client does not know warm, I want warm hair, I want cool hair. All they know is I don't want to see any red, or I hate ash. And you guys need to know, is ash warm or cool? Is gold and red, is that warm or cool? You guys need to know that. They may describe something like, I want my hair to be like a brown cocoa color. Okay, well, their version of cocoa may be very different than your version. So that's when you explain, what do you see when you see cocoa? They may say, I want blonde wheat looking like hair. Again, your wheat may be very different than their wheat. So we're going to talk that out through tell me, show me pictures, explain to me what you see when you see wheat. What colors do you see? I see like a light gold, I see more yellow than orange, and they're going to look at you like, what? So it is always great to have pictures. I do let my clients look at my swatch book, but that can be very overwhelming because they see all of these colors. It's like going to a nail salon and having, 500 colors to choose from. That's very overwhelming. So we have to watch ourselves when we do that. So let's talk about warm tones. These are going to appear lighter than their actual level. They are golden, orange, red, yellow. They're described to a client. You can say auburn, amber, copper, strawberry, bronze. Cool tones are going to be deeper than their actual level. These are going to be more of your blue, your green, your violets. Clients are going to describe these, and you can use this too, as smoky or ashy. So what is intensity? Intensity refers to the strength of a color. How strong is that color? It can be described as soft, medium, or strong. Color intensifiers are tones that can be added to hair color formulas to intensify the result. So intensity of a color. When we get into color, and I'm going to bring you into the color dispensary and show you guys this, you can see maybe a 6R or a 6 red. So that means a level 6 red. Okay. If you have a 6RR, that means a level 6 red. So that red is stronger. Okay. This color, the red, is going to be more intense. Now again, a lot of color lines don't make colors like that, or they use a number system. I'm going to show you guys how to use the number system and a letter system. When using a number system, instead of R, they may use a 4 or a 3, whatever it is for their color line. Again, they're going to provide you a swatch book and a color wheel for their color line. So whatever red is, if it's 644, that means that is way more intense than your 64. Okay? Now just say you don't have a 644 and that client really wants it. You can add what we call an intensifier. You can make your own color. You can have a pure red intensifier and add that to your, level 6 red color to get a stronger tone. Okay. Base color. So the definition of a base color is the predominant tone of a color. Each color is identified by a number and a letter. That is what I was just talking about. Do not let that confuse you. The number indicates the level, and the letter indicates the tone. It may not be a letter, it may be a number. I'm going to talk to you about this in another lecture coming up. But here's an example. You have 6G, so that is a level 6 with a gold base. Okay? So I want you to remember that that number is always, the first number is always going to be the level. the second number or the second letter is going to be the tone of that color. Okay, and I'm going to close with that, guys. That is it for this lecture. I'm going to pick back up and we're going to talk a little bit more and go more in depth with hair color. Thank you.